What's good, y'all? It's your boy B, man. I'm back with another video. Before we start this video, I just want to say the next few videos are probably going to be informational. Y'all know I really like to keep my videos kind of like, with lit content where I'm outside, like more vlog style. But, I do need to give some information, especially for my enthusiasts that are coming in here looking to learn information about Acura Legends, etc. I got to give these videos to y'all, man, so y'all can kind of get a better understanding of how to move when it comes to your Legend builds, man. So with that said, y'all see the title, man. We're gonna talk about the significance of the 3.5 versus the 3.2, get into some information about both motors, you know what I mean, and why everybody kind of goes 3.5, and you feel me, just talk about it. So let's go ahead and run that intro, and then we'll get to the rest of the video, man. The 3.5 versus the 3.2. What is the significance of the 3.5? I'm gonna pretty much go ahead and get into it. So let's start off on why a lot of people swap to 3.5s, or where the 3.5 comes from. So the 3.5 motor that everybody swaps out to is from the 1996 to 04 Acura RL specifically. That is the motor that everybody uses from the RL to the Legend. Is it a direct plug and play? Damn near direct plug and play. A couple of fabricated brackets that need to be obtained first before you can do it. But for the most part, yeah, it's a pretty easy swap. Some say it isn't, some say it is. I think it just really depends on experience. We got a lot of guys up here on the West Coast that do it all day long. I know there's a cat up in I think it's Seattle, Washington, from what I heard, does in 3.5 swaps like it's nothing. Y'all know we got James Mai down here at SS Auto in Sacramento. He do this 3.5 swaps all day like it's nothing. There's a guy up in I want to say it's Jersey, and I can't think of his name, man. I know he run with I Am Legend and some of them Legend lifestyle cats. I heard he was the 3.5 guru out there, man. So if you watching, shout out to you. I said I can't think of your name for nothing, brother, and I want to give you a credit, but shout out to you if you watching this, man. But yeah, I think it just all depends on experience. But really, the 3.2 motors, right? They're notorious for the heads blowing. These 3.2 motors have really sensitive heads and head gaskets. So usually what happens is, after so many times of having overheating issues with the car, best believe it's damaging your heads, whether it's light or whether it's major. You are getting damage to your heads or your head gaskets. Let me turn this AC off. Hold on. All right, I wasn't sure if the AC was getting into the sound, so if it was, y'all excuse me. I just turned the AC off. But yeah, like I said, it doesn't take much to get damage to your heads or head gaskets on the 3.2. Why is that? I'm not really 100% sure. It's just I don't want to say poor design of the motor, but it is one of the sensitive, kind of not fully thought out designs of that motor, right? So the 3.5 motor, to my understanding, like I said, I'm not a mechanic, so I can't say 100%, but to my understanding and the information that I have, the 3.5 motor came with like a heat shield, I guess you could say. So it's not to say that the heads can't blow if you just significantly ride with the car overheating, but the damage, the likelihood, I guess you could say, the likelihood of the 3.5 having a blown head is way less than the 3.2 because of the heat shield and I guess potential redesign or strengthening of the heads with that motor. So a lot of people, obviously, when they have these Legends and they're really trying to, I guess you could say, keep them or make them dependable, they do switch to the 3.5 for that reason. That's really the main reason I could think of. Like I said, just less likely of blowing your heads. Outside of that, is there a real power difference out of these things? Not significant, in my opinion, especially if you're coming out of a Type 2. Then it's not significant. Maybe if you're coming out of a Type 1, you'll feel the horsepower difference. I will say that the torque is definitely noticeable for sure. If you're doing a 3.5 swap on a 4-speed automatic, you're not gonna really get the potential out of that. You really don't get the potential out of the Type 2 either. I definitely suggest getting the 6-speed manual to get the full experience, which is something that hint is on my list. But yeah, man, but other than that, I mean, that's the main significance. I can't really say that parts are just easier to find for the RL motor, because this is just as old of a car as the Legend. Pretty much the same situation when it comes to OEM. You're not really gonna find much OEM outside of like a thermostat. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much kind of it. Everything else, for the most part, like timing belts, water pumps, stuff like that, is 9 times out of 10 going to be aftermarket. Like I said, there's some stuff you might find OEM, but it's not much. You know what I mean? Unless you got to connect somewhere that might have some parts for sale or something. But as far as just like distributed out, you know what I mean, on a regular basis, nah, that's out. That's pretty much the same situation. Outside of that, I mean, that's pretty much it, man. The 3.5 is literally just a more reliable motor when it comes to being able to take a hit when it comes to potential overheating issues. That's really the main reason why everybody switches, at least when they end up switching. I didn't make a big deal out of switching motors. I waited until the heads blew on my 3.2 because I knew eventually it was going to happen. Now, if you do have a 3.2, there are ways to avoid it, right? There are ways to avoid it. The main way to avoid having issues with your 3.2, specifically with the heads, is just keeping up with the cooling system. That's it, man. OEM thermostat for sure. OEM radiator cap, that's for sure. As much OEM as possible, but make sure everything is good, man. Make sure your thermostat good, your radiator's good. Make sure your temp sensors is good, your fan switches, relays, hoses, you know what I mean? Radiator hoses. And the one thing that everybody forgets, man, that goddamn EGR, the EGR tube, man, not the valve. You can change the valve on the newer Acuras, but the Legend has an EGR tube that takes in all of that carbon and gunk, and it gets clogged up. And once it gets clogged up, it loses airflow. And from that point, you might as well watch that temp gauge, whoo, right on up, man. I tell that from experience, because that's actually what took me out the game, man. That's what took me out the game. But, you know, making sure all that maintenance is done, including timing belt, water pump, all that. But that EGR is the one thing, man. That is the one thing a lot of people forget. So make sure you keep up with that for your 3.2 if you don't want to swap to a 3.5. One other thing to make sure you do before you put all that work into your 3.2, man, honestly, just get it pressure tested, drip tested, whatever you got to do. You want to make sure that the heads are still solid. And I think that's another reason why some people swap to the 3.5 before anything, is nowadays you buy these Legends, right, and you really don't know what the history of them is 9 times out of 10. There's very few people that buy a Legend that have a handful of maintenance records that are very meticulous to where you can know, you know, where your Legend has been, right? So I say that to say, make sure the heads are solid, because you would hate to put all this money into this car to really be only about one good temp spike away from the whole thing going downhill. So, you know, make sure you get that tested, and then when you do all of your cooling system items, just do it all at once. So that way you don't, you know, you run less of a risk of, oh, I may have changed out this, but then this fails, and then this fails. There's no room for nothing to fail on a Legend like that, man. It's really not. If you're gonna buy the car and you're gonna keep the 3.2, if the heads are already solid, just change out everything from the gate. Do all the preventative maintenance from the gate, so you don't have no overheating issues, because you really don't know how much life is left out of those heads. Now, in some cases, some people do just go ahead and have the head gaskets changed as preventative maintenance, because it is cheaper to do just the gaskets if the heads aren't warped, because most people spend money on doing them rebuilds when the heads are warped, because now you got to go to the machine shop. Now you got to have the heads actually reconstructed versus just literally taking the motor apart, changing out the gaskets. That's going to be a little more simple. It's all complicated, but it's more simple. You know what I'm saying? So just, you know, make sure you have everything situated with that, with your maintenance, and your 3.2 can be fine. But like I said, for the 3.5 swap people, there's just more dependability out of that motor. That's really all it comes down to. There's a little more dependability. They're not known for blown heads as much. So a lot of people will just go buy a motor from the junkyard, a 3.5, and pretty much throw it in and call it a day and just deal with anything else that comes when it comes, because they have the leeway to do that. You know what I mean? With these 3.2s, especially with most of them being high mileage, it ain't a lot of room for error. So you better know what you're doing with that motor. And that's pretty much it. That's really the significance of having a 3.5 versus a 3.2. It really all comes down to preference. If your 3.2 is already solid, like I said, man, just keep up with the cooling system 200%, man. Keep up with that cooling system. That's what's going to keep that Legend running, man. That temp gauge is going to tell you everything you need to know every time. But if you want to swap to the 3.5, like I said, you know, you could do it. It is possible. It's not a lot of people that know how to do it. I'm learning that now. It's not a lot of people that know how to do it. But, you know, that's what we have these Legend forums for. That's what we got .org for. You know what I mean? That's what we got the power of social media for. When you in that Legend game, man, you get connected with people quick. People know people, and we usually help each other get to the right sources, man. So anything's possible at this point. But that's pretty much it for this video, man. Just wanted to give y'all a little bit of information. Like I said, man, you know, a few of these videos are going to be informational, just to make sure that y'all got everything that y'all need to know when it comes to getting y'all Legends and keeping up with y'all Legends mechanically, man. So y'all know what to do. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell if you haven't already. Keep up with the uploads, man. And I'm going to holler at y'all in the next video. Peace.